Hello, and welcome back to the Ugly Truths podcast. A lot has happened, a lot has transpired from the last time that we talked, but I'm back and I'm ready to hit the ground running. So let's get into it. Today, I want to talk about self worth. I wanted to talk about understanding your value as a person, right? So let me tell you a quick little story. Recently, I joined this group, this amazing membership in Atlanta. And it's a great group to network with and, increase your visualization as a person to get people to come and work with you or you work with others. And it's just great overall for networking, especially for African Americans. It's actually dedicated to African Americans. And as I was cooking this morning, and yes, this happened this morning. As I'm cooking this morning, I am thinking to myself, like, I don't know what to do the podcast about. Like, I know I want to do a podcast, but I just don't know what to do it on. Like, I don't know how to make it authentic while being myself. And something told me to look at my nails, and I looked at my nails and I was just bashing myself, like, oh my gosh, you don't deserve to be in this environment. And it was crazy. Like, we're literally our own biggest enemy, we're our biggest critique. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is just not what a person would like coming into this establishment because this establishment is very high end, in my opinion. And there's a lot of people here that, have their stuff together. They're just looking to increase it. And, I didn't really think that I felt really on the same level as everyone else in this environment. And as I'm sitting there just thinking, like, girl, it's just gonna be so embarrassing hiding your hands. Because I took my nails off the day before. That was the real issue. I took my nails off the day before. And girls, once you take your nails off, it's like a whole bunch of ring of fires on your nails. They look dry, brittle, awful, just freaking awful. And something in my head was like a little voice. And it said, you're worthy just as you are. And for so long, it did not click to me on what exactly that means and what that looks like. I've heard people say you deserve love without having to work for it. And for me, that's just unheard of. Like, I'm like, what? You be so serious. What do you mean? And I can finally understand what that means. So I'm here to explain to you why you are worthy just as you are. You do not have to wait until you get a certain vehicle, until you get a certain job, until you have certain clothing to be considered worthy. And let me tell you why. Your worth is not determined by external factors. That's not how worth works. You would not go into Louis Vuitton and say this look like it shouldn't be worth more than $5. And they just drop the price to $5. They're not going to do that because they know their worth. Does that sound right? Does that make sense? Let me put it that way. Does that make sense to you? And if it doesn't, I'll go even further. So if we think about self-worth, if we think about ourselves, and if we think about us saying that we love ourselves, what does that look like? And I think a lot of people will say, oh, I love myself. And there is nothing that shows that you love yourself, right? Nothing. You do not take care of yourself. You don't take care of your health. You give yourself away to the highest bidder, or should I say the lowest bidder, because your value is immeasurable, yet you sit here and give yourself away to anybody that's willing to take you. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong. They don't know their worth because they were never taught how to know their worth. Well, they were never told that they are worthy just because they're being them. I believe a lot of us have not grown up, have been brought up in this environment where you're only as valuable as for what you can do for me. If you cannot bring anything to the table, you guys know the conversations, these 50-50 conversations, these what do you bring to the table? How can you be of use to me? If that person is not of use to you as they come, then it's time for you to find something else, find someone else, because that person is not for you. And the same thing can be said here. So, like, for example, going back to the situation I just used as an example, you're in a relationship and, people are telling you you're not making enough money to provide me or you're not doing enough around the house. So, this is over. This is done for. And you know what? That's perfectly within their prerogative to do so. However, you should not leave that situation feeling like you are not worth anything. Because once again, your worth is not determined by external factors, right? Your worth is determined about how you see yourself. And that's determined on years upon years upon years of building a relationship with you, installing trust in yourself, accepting yourself through the good and the bad, being there for yourself through the good and the bad, being able to look in the mirror and not wish you were anyone else or in anybody else's shoes, being perfectly fine and accepting of who you are. And when I mean perfectly fine, I mean this is who I am. Am I able to do enhancements? Can I do enhancements? For sure, if it's in my prerogative, not just because somebody else told me so. So another thing is I want to notate is, when people say they love themselves, I don't think that people really know what love looks like. And to break it down, I'm going to take a definition out of Bell Hooks' All About Love book. And it's a great, phenomenal book that will literally redirect what you see and think about love. So the first thing I will say is that love is an action. So love is expressed through care, affection, respect, commitment, trust, and open communication. And that first has to start with you before trying to go out into the world and give that to somebody else. The second thing I will say is that love is a verb that involves action, choice, and intention rather than just a feeling. Love is not just about the feel goods. It's not just about, oh yeah, I did this thing and it was really great and that's it. But when something bad happens, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm just so stupid. It's just so ridiculous. I feel so embarrassed. I feel so ashamed. Absolutely not. Even in the worst parts, you have to continue to love yourself. I don't care what you've done. You have to continue to love you. Because at the end of the entire day, you are all you have. Now, if you've done anything that's against the law, keep that to yourself. But anywho, the next thing I will say about love is that love is a conscious decision to nurture growth and is not something that happens automatically. So you have to be, as it said before, intentional with loving yourself. I know for me, as I'm learning how to love myself, I have to tell myself, if we're trying to reduce our back size, we cannot sit here and just eat whatever we want whenever we feel down because I love myself too much for that. Love is not just easy and free flowing. There's also tough love that you have to give to yourself if you're trying to progress to a different level. If you're trying to break habits, you have to have self love to realize, yes, I want this. I can acknowledge that, but I also want better for myself. So for right now, I'm going to deter myself from doing this action that is later on down the line going to bite me in my ass. It's just as simple as that. And a lot of people don't have that because self love is also a form of self discipline. Right. Crickets, crickets, crickets. Nobody thinks that. When people think of self love, they think of, oh, I'm just going to go and get my hair done, my nails done. I'm just going to get this haircut real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to spoil myself with some shoes. I love myself, man. That's great. And that's a great way to show yourself that you do love the outer. But how about the internal? What are you doing to yourself? How are you listening to yourself? How are you hearing yourself? All these things are so important when it comes to building the component of self love. and finding your worth, period. The next thing about love is a process. Love is a process of nurturing yourself or others, and it requires daily effort to cultivate. This is not just no, oh, yesterday was a bad day for me and I hurt myself out, I named the emotion, and then you never do it again. Absolutely not. This is a conscious decision, remember? This is a conscious decision to do this on a daily basis, no matter what. No matter what. And these are the key components that help you cultivate your self worth. The love of self, the acceptance of who you are to the core, and knowing that you are worthy as is. And it's not going to be easy, especially if people have told you before, showed you consistently that you're not worth a damn. It's so easy to feel that way because you're sitting here allowing people, sometimes even strangers, dictate your worth versus going inwards, right? And seeing exactly who you are to the core and accepting that this is who I am, period. And once we move from that motion, we can go to the next. How can I love myself better today? Y'all be so concerned about loving a man or loving a woman, y'all forget about yourself. Y'all keep pouring out this cup that you already own. Eat. Baby, the car didn't stop 2 miles ago. And you've been giving up nothing but hot air because you have nothing for yourself. You're continuously giving to everybody else but you. Continuing to pour out of that cup, but leaving yours on empty. Sacrificing whatever you have built for that external validation because you have none on the inside. And this is such an important topic for me to tackle because it's like I can see a lot of people lack that self worth because you can see it in their day to day movements, how they move, how they talk about themselves, how they see and perceive certain situations, how they allow other people to treat them, the situations that they've got themselves into. And the craziest thing is, I believe we as humans tend to love others more than we love ourselves. And I believe there can be a balance. But we have not been taught that, so we don't act on that. And here I am trying to give you the tools so you can go out here into this world and begin to love yourself. Begin to be who you truly are while also continuing to love others, just not more than you. Does that make sense? I really hope it does. I'm going to imagine that you said yes. But it took me a while to accept that I am worthy just because I am here, because I am breathing. There is nothing else I have to do to prove my worth. Granted, I'm not going to sit here and act like you do not get treated differently if you look a certain way or act a certain way. Understandable, but understand that's as far as that person goes. They do not seek to go further down and see who you truly are as a person. They're stopping right there at that surface level. I'm not saying go out there and look any type of way, do any type of thing, and just be like, yeah, you still gonna accept me though. That's not gonna be the case, baby. If you love yourself, you won't be in that situation in the first place. Hello? Hello? Are you still here? You wouldn't be in that situation in the first place, baby. So that is the news that I have for you today. Very short, very sweet, very much so to the point. I like to do these little snippets just so you have something to listen to while you're on the road, while you're driving to work, or doing a little quick warm up for your workout. So I really appreciate you all still listening to me. I know I've stopped for a year almost, but I really do appreciate everybody still tuning in because I see the numbers continuously going up. I see people still listening and liking and leaving reviews. So I really do appreciate you all for your criticism and you're helping me and just really pushing me to do this. And while I do appreciate you all for pushing me, I am also doing this for myself. But the last thing I will say is that I dedicate this episode to my father, Gary Pinkney, who actually passed away November 22nd in 2024, my whole world turned upside down when he left. But the knowledge, the work ethic, the love, support, and the tools he gave me, including the biggest one, ambition, which is why I can't stop now, is why I keep going and pushing every day. And you will forever be in my heart, and I will always be a daddy girl. I can't even talk right no more. I will always be a daddy's girl to the core. And I love you so much. And as for you all listening, I love you so much. I'll be back. I promise this time. I'm not leaving, but I do want you all to practice loving yourself, turning all that good, great love that you give externally back to you. And we can start there. Welcome back to the Ugly Truth Podcast. And I'm so glad you tuned in today. Join me as we continue to elevate, grow, and become better overall so then we can go forth and help others to do the exact same. You have my love and my support. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach me out at the Ugly Truths Podcast at gmail.com. I love you. Bye.